Today on Capital Conservatives, we dive into a heated Senate exchange exposing questions about your tax dollars. Senator John Kennedy pressed officials about billions sitting untouched in trust funds. Why isn't this money being used for America's infrastructure? Subscribe to Capital Conservatives so you never miss when Washington gets called out. Follow the money. Senator Kennedy asks, where does the Inland Waterways Trust Fund money come from? The answer, a tax on diesel fuel used by the barge industry. But billions sit idle, unspent, just waiting, not working.
I've got a few questions, gentlemen. Let me start with you, Mr. Secretary. I'm trying to understand how you and all of you in OMB are thinking here. Where does the money come from for the Inland Waterways Trust Fund?
Senator, it's principally raised by a tax on the diesel fuel used in the tug and barge industry.
Yeah. Do you know the balance in that account off the top of your head?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm happy to provide that to you for the record. Okay. Exactly, but it is not insignificant.
I'm sorry?
The balance is not insignificant.
Okay. The proposed budget proposes not to spend it. Why would we? It can't be used for anything else. Why would we not spend it?
Sir, first of all, most of the needs that and I'm going to kind of back up with the Corps' capabilities. Most of the needs that we were currently capable of using that trust funds for were moved forward into the 25 spending plan. So a lot of that were taken care. A lot of those projects were funded in 25 pretty close to their full capabilities in the interim future. And it also, the advantage of the trust funds is that they're designed to be for monies to be raised to used, including out years, and over a longer period of time. So, we moved the funds forward into 25 for most of the projects that were currently ongoing. And then the projects, there were balances left that will be used in future years to fund projects as they come up and the Corps' capability come available.
So, Mr. Secretary, you're saying you don't need the money right now?
No, sir, we're going to need the money very soon.
I'm talking about right now. It's a timing issue?
I would say largely, sir, yes. Could we always use some, what we don't want to do is get into a situation where we're trying to spend money just because it's about to expire.
Agreed.
We'd rather fund it as the projects need it as they go forward.
Segment 2, the Harbor Fund Mystery. Kennedy questions why the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund, stacked with cash, is barely being used. Timing issues, they say, but meanwhile America's ports and communities fall behind. What do you think? Excuses, or is Washington just sitting on your money? Comment below.
Where's the money come from for the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund?
Sir, it's a value-based user fee that is charged against all cargoes entering or exiting the United States.
Okay. It's got some money in it, does it?
It does, and again, to be used over time.
Right. This proposed budget only proposes using $1.7 billion. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
That's below the mark that we set, is it not?
Yes, sir.
How come?
Again, more of a timing issue. Some things were moved forward. Others, the president did put a focus on what were principal federal responsibilities, which is the maintenance and dredging of federal channels. And so, again, the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund is to be used over time for those projects.
Okay. Well, nobody's thinking about using this money for something else, are they?
No, sir.
Okay. General, I want to ask you a question about bringing these projects in on budget and on time. I know you said it was engineering. We've got to get the engineering right, project management right, team right. Let me give you an example. I'm not going to beat this to death, but and I'm just picking a project. We've got a lot of projects in Louisiana, just like Alaska has a lot of projects. Everybody has a lot of projects. But the Inland Harbor Navigation Canal in New Orleans.
Kennedy questions General Graham about the Inner Harbor Navigation Canal in New Orleans. It was supposed to cost $951 million. Now it's $4.7 billion, and 14 years later, it's still unfinished. Lawsuits, distrust, and endless red tape keep driving costs up. Tired of waste? Subscribe and demand accountability.
10 years ago, we projected it would cost about $951 million. Now the cost is up to about $4.7 billion, and the Corps says it will take 14 years. I understand inflation, but why? And I'm using this as an example.
So Senator, the Inner Harbor Navigation Canal down there, where the Intercoastal Waterway bisects and gets across and up onto the Mississippi River, is absolutely key. And you know the history that we've had on multiple lawsuits and injunctions over the years. A lot of it built from the lack of trust from the local communities, particularly the lower Ninth Ward.
I know.
So that cost estimate, and for everybody listening, that IHNC is also part of the flood protection for the greater New Orleans area, the river-facing gates. So it's imperative that we get this right. And what I told the district to do is to make sure that they have put in their cost estimates the risks associated. And most of those risks are most of those risks are elements of not having local support to build this. We want to get a team together.
How do you quantify that?
So that's what we owe you. You take a risk that it's going to get delayed, and then you try your best to put money associated with that would get delayed. So we would have loved to have built this thing for less than $1 billion 10 years ago, but the court cases have prevented us from doing that. The lack of trust from the citizens of the lower Ninth Ward have prevented us from doing that. So we're trying to build that trust so that we don't end up in this infinite loop of litigation.
I got it. All right, Senator Murkowski's here. I want to ask you one more question, and you're well aware of all this. For whatever reason, sea levels are rising. Our land in South Louisiana is sinking. Part of that is because over time, sediment becomes more and more compacted. Where did that sediment come from? That sediment came from the Mississippi River, which used to overflow, which was a blessing and a curse. But our Corps did an extraordinary job, at our request, of levying the Mississippi River. We weighed the cost and the benefit and said the right thing to do here is to levy the river. Well, that obviously stopped the sediment, okay?
Kennedy highlights a unique Louisiana crisis: rising sea levels and sinking land, worsened by levees blocking vital sediment. General Graham suggests raising homes and sediment diversions, but admits more pilot projects are needed. Yet Washington keeps talking, while real action remains stalled. Secretary Forsgren proposes using regulatory incentives to involve the private sector. Current rules block companies from earning credits for preventing land loss, Louisiana's real need. Tweaking the rules could let investors help restore coastlines. Kennedy calls it creative thinking.
And I'm not suggesting we take the levees down. What do we do? We're not going to take the levees down. The land's sinking. There's no new sediment coming in. The sediment's becoming more compacted, and the sea levels are rising. What would you do if you were king for a day? General, let me start with you, and then I'll ask the secretary.
Sure. Chairman Kennedy, so some of the projects are that we have a tremendous amount of non-structural projects going on in South Louisiana.
And I'm not asking you to comment on any particular project. I get all politics and the wailing and the national gnashing of teeth, right, and everybody's bowels are in an uproar over which one's the best one. I get that. I'm just asking you, what approach should we take?
So raising homes to deal with sea level rise coming up and the land sinking, that non-structural approach is a tool that we're starting to execute at scale in southern Louisiana. What we're also taking a look at is supporting the state of Louisiana in whatever settlement diversion paths that it's choosing to take. We had, they had applied for a permit and
Do you
granted
think
it.
settlement diversion works?
In some instances, I believe it does. It has to be done very carefully. Anytime we move the Mississippi River off from where it's going to someplace else, it's going to have tremendous forces. And so we have to take a look at that mindfully. But I believe we have the engineering expertise, and working in conjunction with the state, I believe that we can use that tool effectively.
Now, do you, on this sediment diversion, are you saying we should do it in small amounts?
Pilot
or
projects.
Larger amounts, or does that matter?
I think pilot projects to prove that we know what we think we know are always wise.
So you're thinking of a pilot project?
I think those.
We've done some.
We have done some.
We don't have enough pilots?
I'd owe you a better, more detailed answer on that.
Okay. What do you think, Mr. Secretary?
Senator, I certainly agree that the Corps' expertise in moving and doing sediment projects and doing a traditional Corps approach will be one of the tools that has to happen. I think we need to think about the other side of some of the stuff the Corps does, and that's using the regulatory program to create some incentives for the private sector to do positive things.
For example?
I'll use a perfect example in South Louisiana. Right now, in the 404 program, we cannot give a mitigation bank credit for preventing subsidence losses of wetlands. Those coastal wetlands losses are amounting to about the only losses nationally in wetlands resources. But we don't have a mechanism now between, I don't think it's law, it's really regulation, that would allow someone, for example, there are several large landowners down there that at a relatively low cost, a few $1 million could, barrier the breaches that have been into the coastal wetlands for a long time, and that would stop some of the saltwater incursion, which accelerates the wetlands losses and some of the subsidence. If they could sell credits for 404 purposes for elsewhere in Louisiana, that would provide the economic incentive for doing that. But we can do it. So now you've got people in South Louisiana going up to North Louisiana to buy credits, to do development.
Gotcha.
There's a mismatch. We need to find some more creative ways to use the regulatory system in a positive manner to help.
Okay. I want to sit down. We'll sit down and talk
Absolutely,
about that.
Senator.
Thank you for your creative thinking. I want to be sure I understand you, General. You think diversion works?
I believe there's cases where it can be part of the solution. Yes.
You think it can work in South Louisiana?
Yes.
Okay. Senator.
Senator Kennedy exposes how delays and outdated rules stall America's progress. Funds for infrastructure sit unused, while costs soar. Meanwhile, Louisiana faces rising seas as Washington drags its feet. Hold Congress accountable. Awareness starts with